morning, everybody. This is Pamela Parrish. I normally don't film these videos for the simple fact that when breaking news happens, I like to get it out there fresh and hot off the press. But this morning, the streaming function is giving me problems. So I think I'll hold off on streaming on YouTube. And I'll definitely start doing more videos for BitChute purposes only. So, in the future, if you want to see any videos, you come over to BitChute. I implore you to. As you all know, I want to do some Trump talk this morning. And this comes over off of my feed, off of 10 TV in Columbus, Ohio. And it says Pelosi's drafting of impeachment articles against Trump are being okayed. Off the Associated Press, updated over 10 minutes ago. Excuse me for that. Published 13 minutes ago, updated 10 minutes ago. From Washington. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced today that the House is moving forward to draft articles of impeachment against President Trump. Quote, "Our democracy is what is at stake," unquote, Pelosi said. Quote, "The president leaves us no choice but to act," unquote. Pelosi delivered the historic announcement as Democrats push toward a vote, possibly by Christmas. And they say this is a breaking news update. An earlier story follows below. I'll read the earlier one for you. From Washington, off the AP, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced today that she would deliver an unusual public statement on the status of the House impeachment inquiry into President Trump. On Wednesday, Pelosi met behind closed door with her Democratic caucus asking, quote, "Are you ready?" unquote. The answer was a resounding yes, according to those in the room. Democrats are charging toward a Christmas-time vote on removing the 45th president. A situation Pelosi hoped to avoid, but it now seems inevitable. She is to make a public statement on impeachment at 9 this morning. The Democratic leader drew from the Constitution and the intent of the Founding Fathers. She made the following statement from the Speaker's office in the Capitol, the same location where she declared that the former branch of the House investigations of Trump's actions toward Ukraine. Trump tweeted that if Democrats are going to impeach me, do it now fast, he said. He wants to get on with a fair trial in the Senate. The president also said that the Democrats also have gone crazy. On Wednesday, Pelosi met behind closed door with the Democrats caucus asking, "Are you ready?" And she was met with a resounding yes, according to those in the room. Democrats are charging toward a Christmas-time vote on removing the 45th president, a situation that she hoped to avoid, but it now seems inevitable. Pelosi is to make a public statement on impeachment at 9 this morning. Three leading legal scholars testified yesterday to the House Judiciary Committee that Trump's attempts to have Ukraine investigate Democratic rivals are grounds for impeachment, bolstering the Democrats' case. The fourth expert, called by Republicans, warned against rushing the process, arguing this would be the shortest impeachment proceedings with the thinnest record of evidence in modern times, setting a worrisome standard. Trump is alleged to abuse the power of his office by putting a personal political gain over national security interests, engaging in bribery, withholding $400 million in military aid Congress had approved for the Ukraine, but then obstructing Congress by stonewalling the investigation. Again, he has been alleged to abuse his power by putting personal political gain over our national security, engaging in bribery by withholding $400 million in military aid Congress had approved for Ukraine, but then obstructing Congress by stonewalling the investigation. Across the Capitol, a polarizing political divide over impeachment. Only the fourth such inquiry in the nation's history was on display. Democrats in the House say the inquiry is a duty. Republican reps say that it's a sham, and quietly senators on both parties conferred on Wednesday, preparing for an eventual Trump trial. Never before in the history of the Republic have we been forced to consider the conduct of a president who appears to have solicited personal political favors from a foreign government, says Representative Jared Nadler, DNY, chair of the Judiciary Panel, which would draw up articles of impeachment. Nadler says Trump's phone call on July 25th seeking a favor from the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky wasn't the first time he had sought foreign help to influence an American election. Noting Russian interference in 2016, he warned against inaction with a new campaign underway. We cannot wait for the election, he said. If we do not act to hold him in check now, President Trump will most certainly try again and solicit interference in the election for his own personal political gain. Trump attending a NATO meeting in London, calling the hearing a joke, and doubted many people would watch because it's boring. Once an outsider to the GOP, Trump now has Republicans' unwavering support. He joined in his name-calling in the judiciary proceedings as a disgrace and unfair, to the dredging up of unfounded allegations as part of an effort to undo the 2016 election and remove him from office. Quote, "You just don't like this guy," says Rep. Doug Collins of Georgia, the top Republican on the panel. Trump rewarded some of his allies' politically valuable presidential tweets as the delaying and hearing dragged on into the evening, or the day-long hearing dragged into the evening. At the private meeting Wednesday, Democratic lawmakers also delivered a standing ovation to Representative Adam Schiff, whose 300-page Intelligence Committee report cataloged potential grounds for impeachment, overwhelmingly indicating that they want to continue to press the inquiry rather than slow its advance and call a halt for fear of the political costs in next year's congressional elections. Meanwhile, Trumpster's team fanned out across the Capitol, with Vice President Pence meeting with House Republicans and White House officials conferring with Senate Republicans to prepare for what could be the first presidential impeachment trial in a generation. White House counsel Pat Cipollone, who has declined for now to take part in the House proceedings, relayed Trump's hope that the impeachment effort can be stopped in the House and there will be no need for a Senate trial, which now seems unlikely. The White House and others said that Trump is eager to have his say. Senator Roy Blunt RMO said he feels like he had no opportunity to tell his side of the story. Now, before I continue on with this article, he's had plenty of opportunity to tell his side of the story. They invited him to the impeachment proceedings, and he declined. Am I right? You know, again, he's playing this damn victim game, and I'm getting pretty sick of it. He says he wants to tell his side of the story, huh? Well, you should have went to the impeachment proceedings, asshole. They could have questioned you right there on the hot seat. It's no different. And it says here, Trump's lambasts the impeachment probe daily and proclaims he's innocent of any wrong at length. But he has declined to testify before House hearings or answer questions in writing. So he won't do none of that. He won't testify in public, and he won't answer questions in writing. At the heart of this inquiry is his July phone call asking the Ukraine to investigate rival Democrats, including Biden, as he was withholding aid from the ally which faced an aggressive Russia at its border. At Wednesday's session, legal experts, 3 of them called by Democrats, said impeachment was merited. Noah Feldman, a Harvard Law School professor, had considered it clear that the president's conduct met the definition of high crimes and misdemeanors, said Michael Gerhardt, a University of North Carolina law professor. Quote, if what we are talking about is not impeachable, then nothing is impeachable, unquote. The only Republican witness, Jonathan Turley, a law professor at George Washington University, dissented from the other legal experts. He said that the Democrats are bringing a slapshot impeachment, a case against the president, but he didn't excuse Trump's behavior. Quote, it is not wrong because President Trump is right, Turley said. A case for impeachment could be made, but it cannot be made on this record. Now that doesn't make sense to me. Not to me. And it goes on to say, new telephone records released at the House report deepened Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, known involvement in what investigators called the scheme. Asked about this, Trump told reporters he said he didn't know why Giuliani was calling the White House Office Management and Budget, which was withholding the military aid to Ukraine. Quote, you'd have to ask him, unquote, Trump said. Sounds like something that's not so complicated. No big deal, unquote. Based on 2 months of investigation sparked by a still anonymous government whistleblower's complaint. It says here, the Intelligence Committee's impeachment report found that Trump sought to undermine the integrity of the U.S. presidential election process and endangered U.S. national security. When Congress began investigating, it says Trump obstructed the investigation like no other president in history. Republicans defended the president in a 123-page rebuttal, claiming Trump never intended to pressure the Ukraine when he asked the investigations from Biden and his son. While liberal Democrats are pushing the party to incorporate the findings from former House Counsel Robert Mueller's report on Russian interference in the 2016 election and other actions by Trump, more contrast and moderate Democrats prefer to stick with the Ukraine matter as a simpler narrative that Americans can understand. Democrats could begin drafting articles of impeachment in a matter of days with the Judiciary Committee vote next week. The full House could vote by Christmas, and then the matter would move to the Senate for a trial in 2020. You know, and it's really scary because we all know Trump's a dirty man. You know he's not doing the job that is given to him. I think that he has spent more time on Twitter than actually doing work. And that really bums him out. That really bums the man out. Trust me. He's done some impeachable things. Letting people die in the Bahamas and Puerto Rico, for one. Ripping kids from their families. I don't know how long that's gone on. Whether it was before Trump or after. That should also be impeachable. not helping people that really need the help. And then you hear about him paying off a porn star, um, calling Middle Eastern people very fine people, especially those that want us dead. Are you kidding me? And he's asked for investigations on Biden and his kid from outside sources. That should be enough grounds for impeachment. Does anybody see anything wrong with this picture? I certainly do. Trump has gotten away with shit for far too long, and he's suffering under the weight of articles of impeachment. And I hope they get it done, and I hope they get it done soon, because he is a dangerous maniac. Remember when he said that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose voters? That was a scary premonition of what was to come for this country. Let's see. Racism has spiked under him. David Duke is proud that he helped elect that guy. I didn't vote for him, and I'm not going to vote for him in 2020. I'm voting straight up blue. And when he let those people die in the Bahamas and Puerto Rico, that just shows what a cold, cold heart Trump really has. And it really hurts me to see fellow people die at the hands of such an idiot. And part of it was Puerto Rico's fault, because of the trade embargo that was going on, I think. I know my city of Columbus, Ohio, USA, stepped up to try and help anybody in the hurricane-ravaged areas. We loaded up trucks full of goods and services for the people that need it. And it sat there, and it sat there, and sat there, and most of it spoiled. A lot of people died because of that. Either they were slow on their end in Puerto Rico, or the president was slow on his end. I think they were both at fault. But to leave the people in the Bahamas hanging like they didn't matter. And that bothers me to this day, and it always will bother me. How could an elected official turn a blind eye to the suffering and needless suffering of people in the islands? That was their home. It changed the face of Puerto Rico and the Bahamas forever. And it's really sad. And let's not forget the cognitive decline of President Donald Trump. His word vocabulary has really shrunk. A lot of people that I follow online, the David Pakman Show, the Ring of Fire, talked about his cognitive decline and his, pronouncements of certain words. Instead of saying origins of the investigation, he would say oranges of the investigation. Or he would be slurring his words or breathing heavy, holding on to the lectern like this, like he couldn't even get his balance. And he also freed a convicted war criminal for posing with a dead ISIS member. It's sad. It really is. He had actually he helped free 3 war criminals within the last couple of weeks. So, yeah. Doesn't sound like a very competent president to my mind. A war criminal is a war criminal. Just like a draft dodger is a draft dodger. If a person goes AWOL from the military, and somebody has gone AWOL from the military, I think they went after a lunatic Marine that went AWOL. Those are the kind of people we don't need representing the country. And Mr. Bone Spurs needs to get that through his bonged resined head. And it's really sad that our kids have to see a clown in office. And I hope that impeachment goes smoothly and that they do the right thing, because a lot of the Republicans don't want to hear what the Democrats have to say. They either sit there looking like, oh, not again. I don't want to listen. You know how like they look up and look around, they smack their lips, like, I really have to listen to this shit? You know, Trump has committed so many impeachable offenses. And he has also had sexual allegations against him, too. So, yeah. If they could impeach Clinton for banging Monica Lewinsky, then they could certainly impeach Donald J. Trump for his offenses against our country. Asking a member of the Ukraine and Russia to help in his political bid for 2020. And he's been going off on these so-called fake stories that comes up in his mind. Conspiracy theories, if you will. Unfounded conspiracy theories. And tries to make them seem valid. Again, I think it's his mental decline and his mental stability as a person and as a leader. He is not leader material. I think he walked out of the summit yesterday and came home because, from what I heard, I think the people over there were making him a laughingstock. You know, and if you got other countries sharing the same type of fears that we have here, then we have a problem. We have a problem. You know, and people are letting him know that he is not liked. His wife got booed at a solo event. His son got booed at a solo event. He even got booed at a ball game and a wrestling match. The tide's turning, you know, and our farmers and this country as a whole has suffered because of it. A lot of farmers have had to close up shop. You know, and then he wants to find certain businesses if they didn't want to stay in our country. A lot of businesses have to go where the money is. If it's not happening here, where else are they going to go? You can't twist somebody's arm and make them stay. They have to move. It's just like if somebody had registered in any branch of the military and they moved to a nice neighborhood like mine. And believe me, I had a neighbor that lived on the corner from me that was in the service. He moved up here from Florida. And I just recently found out that he and his wife had moved away. Something about how the service would station him elsewhere. And it's sad because I really liked the new neighbors that had moved in over 3 years ago. They would say hi, and they would make sure that I was doing okay. And his wife came over and helped me one day get in the house, and that was really a nice thing for her to do. She didn't have to, but she came over and helped me anyway. And when I heard that they had moved, I was very, very sad because it's not often you see an actual vet living in your neighborhood. The only other vet that I know was my father, and he was an Air Force man. So, yeah. So, you know, and it's a real sad state of affairs when we have a president that has spent a lot more time on Twitter than actually being out in actual public. And I haven't seen very many meetings in the Oval Office unless he's with some chicks. You know, and it's really weird. This whole presidential thing has been weird. You know, because they were certain that Miss Clinton was going to win, and then someone or something pushed the lever over to Trump's side. Very, very weird to my mind. The economy may be great in Trump's mind, but I certainly don't see it. And now he wants to put more harm on the people that need the help, namely people like me. And it's really sad because, I tell my story to people all the time, why aren't you able to work? You're on the computer doing your vlogs. And I said, well, I went through every avenue possible for the disabled. BVR, Goodwill, and even tried getting a job at Easter Seals. I had to have some sort of license to work at a desk for Easter Seals. And BVR, you could forget that because I wasted 3 years of my life there. Filling out papers, doing mock interviews. My mom would have to bring me. And if you ask me to go to BVR again, no, I can't trust him. Because I did all those papers, I dressed up for interviews, wore clean slacks, shirts, and shoes. And the last time I was ever there, the lady said, aren't you a bit underdressed for this interview? And I said, no, don't think so. I think a lot of young people are wearing tennis shoes, clean socks, clean tennis shoes, clean socks, clean pants and shirt to an interview. And I said, I cannot wear flats because of my big bunions, because of the way I walk. And she goes, well, we're going to have to work on that. And after 3 years of filling out papers and no prospects for a job, I just told my mom, I said, you better get me out of here. Because she saw how red my face was and how down I looked. She's like, what's the matter? And I said, just get me to the elevator. I'm going to punch somebody. I'm going to punch somebody if you don't get me out of here. By the time we got in the elevator, we got down to the car and we got in. And I said, I don't think they ever did anything for me. And I said, she was down on me about the outfit that I had on. Tan and blue shirt, tan pants, white sneakers, white socks, nicely combed hair. And she says, we're going to have to work on that. And my mom and dad said, you don't have to go back if you don't want to. If there are people that don't want to hire you, it's their loss. Don't worry about it. And I said, well, I'm still going to try and look for a job. And 7 more years would go by before I gave up the ghost. I tried every single place that was near my home to get a job. And nobody would bother with me. Not a bookstore, not a Sears, not any other store in my local mall would give me the time of day. I would take the application, fill it out, and take it back. I'd have on my best clothes and walk back on my sticks. They said, well, leave your application here. We'll take a look at it. Or I would get the position has been filled, or the ever popular will call you. At 27, my dad says, Pammy, you don't have to prove yourself to us. We know how bad you want to work. But if they're not willing to hire you, then they're going to miss out on a terrific person. And I said, really, Dad? I said, I did not move to Zanesville because I wanted to be close to you guys. And now you're saying I could stay here and help take care of you? And he's like, yes, ma'am. You pay a little bit of rent, toward the house bills and your cell phone, and you won't have to worry about nothing. If you decide to get a cell phone, you could pay for your cell phone and the rent, and the rest of the money you could do whatever you want with. They said, we've seen you hurt your pride again and again and again and again. You don't have to put yourself through that indignity anymore. So I did what my parents told me to do. Come home, help them out, and take care of them if they were sick, which I did. And that was it. And here I am today. And now Mr. Dumpster Fire wants to cut off a food stamp aid for those that may be able to work. You know, I would love to be able to work, but I'm almost 50 years old. By the time I'm 70, I wouldn't have a valuable nest egg to my name, even if I did get a job. I'm too old. I got more arthritis in me. I got arthritis in this arm here. I wake up to it hurting every morning. My knees like to pop in and out. I get so much pain from my knee from when I hurt it back in October. It is not even funny. Sometimes it would hurt so bad when I lay down, I have to get up no matter what time it is, whether it's at 6 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I have to get up out of that bed to keep my leg from hurting too badly. So, yeah, I have more and more constraints on me, and I hate it. I love being physically active, but with my advancing age, it's getting harder and harder to do. So, yeah, that is why I am on SSDI. A disability is a disability. And from what I heard, if you asked me, why don't you go and sign up for Walmart? No way. They don't even, I don't think they even pay minimum wage. A lot of the workers are on welfare anyway, whether they work or not. And then there are people that work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. And there's only so many hours in a day, so you can imagine the strain on those people as well. And it would cost me a boatload of money to travel from here to work 3 or 4 times a week, limited hours, and still get benefits. And if I were to fall ill and get sick, I would have to pay back every single dollar that I had made at that particular job. It happened to me when I did the Summer Youth Employment Program in 89 and 90. 2 summers. And I was fighting to get independent, make my own money, treat my mom and dad every once in a while when I had the funds. It was $200 a week, but it was my $200 a week. And I took my mom to Jade's Chinese and put some money in toward my record player for a new needle, and did things with my grandmother before she died, and it was wonderful. But then reality hit. I went back to high school in late 89, and I had to pay back what money I made from that summer. And I had to do the same thing again when the fire marshal's office had to let me go, even after a 25-cent pay raise. They had to let me go because of a hiring freeze. And if I had to go to work there again, I couldn't because it was out of the range of Franklin County bus services. Unless I had a coworker that knew me, I would have to ride into work with him or her, and that would have been good, except now I am almost fully wheelchair bound when I'm outside my house. When it gets cold like this, my knees hurt. I deal with a lot more pain. So, I don't know if I would be able to travel into work, much less be able to fight the rat race every day. But that's the new reality for those on SNAP benefits. But we'll see. We'll see. But again, Miss Pelosi is okaying articles for impeachment. And hopefully they'll do a thorough job. And so far, I think they have done a thorough job. He has blocked every offense necessary to bring both sides in to testify. And the Democrats held out an olive branch, said you could come to the impeachment inquiry, we could question you, and he has steadfastly refused, and he won't even answer questions on paper. I think that they should impeach Donald J. Trump for the simple fact that he is hiding his taxes and he has committed multiple crimes, not just in political office, but probably when he was a regular multi-millionaire, you know. And the scary thing is, a lot of his Trump followers actually still believe in him and they follow him. And it's scary because people like David Duke have reveled in the fact that he helped get Donald Trump elected. And we all know David Duke is the biggest racist asshole on the planet. But then I always say racist will always back up other racists. Other big head, swollen head, rich people will back up other big head, swollen head, rich people. So, yeah. So, I'm not worried about it. I don't care. But Trump will have to face his demons one way or the other, either in this life or in the next life. But if you want to check out anything on Donald Trump, I will have an article below from Channel 10, should you want to read it for yourself. And I also want you to check out the following channels: The David Pakman Show, and a show called The Ring of Fire that has cataloged and followed Donald Trump's problems from the very beginning. And I'm hoping to go through each and every channel in the future and catalog those videos for you so you don't have to find them. And if you watch some of his early interviews, if you watch some of Trump's early interviews from the 80s to the 90s, and then you flip to some of the interviews that he does now, you could really tell that there is a cognitive decline going on with him. I mean, the guy is, 73, 74? Maybe it's time for him to knock it off and go back to Mar-a-Lago. And a lot of people from New York and people in Florida are not happy with him. So, yeah. I think the stress is getting to him, as it should. I think this is just like, excuse me. I think this is just like Watergate, but it's a million times worse. And he has bastardized our Constitution. He has bastardized women. He's made them to be inferior beings. He's made Senator John McCain out to be a coward. And he said, and I quote, about McCain being captured in the line of duty. He says, "I don't like people who are captured." Remember that. I don't like people who are captured, okay? I don't like them. I just don't. And then his advances on women. Look up the Pussygate tape. I'm not going to do it for you. It cost Billy Bush his job at that time. And it gave Trump the White House. And his recent actions at the NATO summit, him leaving when things didn't go his way. That's how life goes sometimes, sucker. I don't hold my breath and say, I want a job. I kept up the fight for well over 7 years. Got nothing from it. And my family still loves me no matter what. And I couldn't have it any other way. I'm not a loser. I'm not a useless member to society. I'm just a genuine human being that wanted to make something of herself, but never got the chance. And now I think I am too old. My body hurts too bad anymore to go out for very long. So, yeah. And sometimes when I did get to go out and do something that I wanted to do, often... God damn it! Fucking telemarketers need to get a life, man. Just a minute. Get on with it, damn it. See, I get those calls all the time. They let the machine play through, and then they never say anything. Fuck that. But people would often tell me I was lazy and worthless. And I said, yeah, try living my life, motherfucker. They see the disability and not the ability. I tried for about 7 years, if not a little more than that, to get a job in this stinking town. And I got nothing. Not one thing. I did what was required of me. I went to school. I did the homework. I did this. I did that. Had a summer youth employment job, but it wasn't permanent. And like that, I was back out as Miss Nobody. At least to some of you. But I'm still a vivacious person. I'm a fighter in the first order. And those that didn't want to hire me missed out on somebody who was eager to learn and did the job that was required of her when she did work. And those that allowed me the opportunity to work at that time, I thank you for that. At least when I worked with a group of people, I felt like I was a somebody and not a nobody. But there are people in this country that abuse the SNAP system, that have kids so they could get more food stamps. I've heard it myself. My mom and I used to go to those appointments, and I would do whatever I had to do to get my food stamps. And we heard this one lady say, well, I'm going to have more kids so I could get more food stamps. And my mom and I both looked at each other like, we just heard what we thought we heard, didn't we? And my mom and I talked about this later. She goes, I can't believe some people. And I said, I could. They leave people like me in the lurch that want to work and be able to support you out in the lurch while they give those that don't need the benefits a whole bunch of benefits while I get a little drop in the bucket. So let's get this done so we can get the hell out of here. I want to go home. And I said, you don't think I don't know what it feels like to feel like at the bottom of the bucket? Or the bottom of the food chain, as most people call it? Bullshit. There were times I felt like I wanted to end my life because of this. But I don't. Because I've seen what suicide can do to a person. I'll talk about that another day. And it's not fun. It imploded the person's family. Let's just put it that way. And I'm not willing to hurt my family over nothing. Trump may be willing to hurt families over what he's doing, but not me. As someone who lives on SSDI, it is not a life that I would wish on anybody. But I was never really given a chance to work, and that was that. I came home, I take care of myself, and I often help out my family if they need it. If they have to go out and get groceries for me, they help me with that. And if they do something nice for me, and if I have a little bit of money, I do something nice for them. So, where I'm from, families support each other. And I'm doing my level best to keep me in a safe living environment for as long as I can. But I await the day that I leave this earth, and then I won't have to worry about it anymore. But Mr. Trump, the clock is ticking on you. The clock will be ticking on you no matter what. Even if you get another 4 years, you have to be out after a second term. It is the law. You know, and this country is really hurting. Our farmers are hurting. Our children are hurting. The people in the islands have heard from you. More and more people are turning against you, and rightfully so. You spent more time on Twitter than out in actual public and actually doing some work. You found out that being a president was actual work, and that really bummed you out. I think you used the presidency as another notch on your belt. And now that you're leaving New York and going to Florida, you're running from your past. And shame on you, Trump. Never my president, man. You will never be president. Not to me, and not to anybody else that doesn't follow your lead. Well, here is my video for the day. I know it isn't very good, but I wanted to get this news article out to you, but the streaming function is not working today, so I'll get back on in about another week to 2 weeks, and if I don't get on between now and the 17th, you'll probably see a video sometime around the 17th or the 18th for the Christmas holidays. So, video is over for now, and I will talk at you later. Bye-bye.